The order from Grand Admiral Bei Zhong was clear. The unknown ship was to be found and identified. It was no longer a curiosity. It was now a potential security risk. This meant the Empire's military machine, which was very good at following orders, began to move. Commander Yu Guihuan and the Steadfast Justice were ordered to join a new task force. It was a group of the Empire's fastest interceptors, sleek ships built for catching smugglers and rebels. Their commander was a veteran named Captain Li Ji-woo, a no-nonsense officer who trusted his sensors and his weapons. Ji-huan shared all his data with Captain Ji-woo. Together, they studied the strange ship's recorded path. Analyst Kang De-yoon, working late in the archives, had also plotted the course. She saw a pattern the military had missed. The unknown ship visited places that were very old. It went to dead stars and empty worlds that had been scanned long ago and marked as worthless. Its next likely stop, based on its straight path, was the Grendel system. Grendel was a single red dwarf star with a belt of shattered planetary rock. The Empire's records said there was nothing there but dust and radiation. Da-yoon felt a strong urge to warn someone. This wasn't a hostile move. It was an investigation. But her message to the military liaison was returned with a note. Tactical assessments are not the domain of archives. She was told to focus on her data filing. She sat back, frustrated, and watched the clock. The task force was already on its way to Grendel. The Imperial ships arrived first. They hid their energy signatures among the cold rocks of the asteroid belt. 6 interceptors and the Steadfast Justice waited in the dark. Their weapons were powered up. Their scanners painted every inch of empty space. Remember, Captain Ji-woo said over the comms to all ships, "We hail first. We ask for surrender and identification. If they run, we disable their engines." This is a capture operation. Ji-huan on the Steadfast Justice felt uneasy. He had seen how the ship moved. "Captain," he said carefully, "their acceleration is unlike anything we have. A disabling shot may be difficult." "We have the advantage of surprise in numbers, Commander," Ji-woo replied, his voice confident. "No ship can dodge 6 targeting systems at once." They did not have to wait long. Space near the red dwarf star shimmered. There was no loud warp explosion, no flash of light. One moment, there was nothing. The next moment, the unknown ship was just there. It hung in the void, smooth and silent, its dark hull drinking in the dim red light of the star. On the bridge of the Wayfarer, the mood was calm. Alarms had sounded softly minutes before. 6 Imperial vessels, Kim Tae-won said from his station, hidden in the asteroid field. Their weapons are hot. They are locking targeting scanners on us. Lee Soo-jin cracked her knuckles. Primitive targeting. Their signal is like a flashlight. They are announcing exactly where they want to shoot. Captain Park Jae watched the tactical display. 6 red dots and 1 larger one, the Steadfast Justice, surrounded them. "They want to talk first," he said. "Let's listen." As predicted, the hail came. Captain Ji-woo's face appeared on a screen in the Wayfarer. He spoke the standard Imperial demand. "Unidentified vessel. This is Captain Li Ji-woo of the Galactic Empire. You are in restricted space. Cut your engines immediately and transmit your identification codes. If you comply, you will not be harmed." Park Jae looked at the face on the screen. He did not answer. His orders were still to observe, but the situation was changing. He gave a small nod to Soo-jin. "Still no response," Ji-woo reported to his fleet. "Move to Phase 2. Fire warning shots across its bow. Let them see we are serious." 2 of the interceptors fired. Bright lances of plasma energy shot across the dark, passing a few kilometers in front of the Wayfarer's nose. The light flashed against its hull. On the Wayfarer, the shot was seen as a mild energy spike. "They're firing warning shots," Tae-Won said. "Evasive pattern delta," Park Jae said quietly. "No aggressive response. Just show them the difference." On the Imperial ships, the officers watched. The unknown vessel had not moved. And it did. It didn't turn or bank like a normal ship. It seemed to flicker. One moment it was in the center of their formation. The next, it was 300 kilometers to the port side of the Steadfast Justice. There was no movement in between. It was just in a new place. Where did it go? "Reacquire target." Captain Ji-woo shouted. The interceptors spun, their computers trying to find the ship again. They found it. Their targeting lasers painted its hull again. Ji-woo gave the order. "Disabling fire. Aim for the engines." All 6 interceptors fired a network of plasma bolts. The shots were precise, impossible to dodge. At least, impossible for any Imperial ship. The Wayfarer flickered again. The plasma bolts passed through empty space where it had been. The ship was now above the formation. Then it was below it. It was not moving in a line. It was appearing in different spots, like a stone skipping on water. The Imperial targeting computers screamed with errors, unable to track the sudden jumps. "By the stars." "What is that?" Ji-woo whispered, his confidence gone. On the Steadfast Justice, Ji-hwan watched with a cold feeling in his stomach. He had known. He had tried to say it. This was not a fight. This was a demonstration. The Wayfarer stopped its flickering. It settled into a position directly in front of the Steadfast Justice, as if looking right at it. For a long second, it just hung there. Then, the blue glow ignited at its rear. It didn't turn. It simply shot forward, straight through the center of the Imperial formation. It moved so fast, it became a blur. It passed between 2 interceptors, and the wake of its passage rocked the smaller ships violently, sending them spinning. Alarms blared on their bridges. Then it was gone. Not in a warp jump. It just accelerated until it vanished from their screens, leaving behind only twisting ribbons of distorted space that messed with their sensors. The comms were filled with confused shouts. "Report damage." What was that? I lost all tracking. Captain Ji-woo sat in his chair, his face pale. His perfect trap had not just failed. It had been brushed aside like it was nothing. He looked at the empty space where the ship had been. He had no report to give. What could he say? The target was too fast to see, too fast to hit, and it left without firing a single shot. Commander Yu Ji-hwan slowly let out a breath. He looked at his sensor officer, whose face was white. The data was already coming in. The energy readings from the ship's sudden jumps and final acceleration were off the scale. They were also, he knew, being recorded and sent directly to a ETHA-ALGARD in the quiet archives. Kang Do-yoon received the automated data feed from the Steadfast Justice. She saw the recording of the encounter. She saw the ship flicker and move. She saw the panic in the comms logs. She leaned close to her screen, not seeing the weapons or the fear. She saw the ship's path on her map. After Grendel, its course was still straight. It was heading for a very old, very quiet part of the galaxy, a place the Empire hardly ever visited. She knew where it was going next, and for the first time, she felt real fear, not for the Empire, but for what its leaders might do when their pride was hurt this badly. Commander Yu Ji-hwan's report from the Steadfast Justice traveled through the Empire's communication network. It moved from the local sector command to the regional headquarters, and finally to the Great Military Administration Center on Ethelgard. At each stop, junior officers read it, frowned, and sent it upward. The problem was too strange for them to handle. The report landed on the desk of Grand Admiral Bei Jiong. He was a man who had gained his position through political skill and family connections. He believed the galaxy was a solved puzzle. He read Ji Huan's words: unidentified vessel, no transponder, impossible velocity. He sighed, a sound of pure annoyance. His first thought was of a rich merchant's son, showing off a new toy. His second thought was of sensor failure. He called in his senior technical advisor. The steadfast justice in Zeta Sector, Bei Jiang said, tapping the report. Their commander is seeing things. Run a full diagnostic on that ship's sensor logs. Find the glitch. The technician did as ordered. He found no glitch. The sensor logs were clean. The energy signature from the unknown ship was real, and it was, as Commander Ji Huan said, like nothing on file. The technician wrote a careful note saying the data was anomalous, but verified. This was a dangerous thing to say in the Empire. Anomalies were not welcome. Bei Jiang read the technician's note. He did not like it. An anomaly meant work. It meant questions he could not answer. He made a decision. He stamped the report with a classification that meant inconclusive low priority. He sent a message back down the chain, likely an undocumented civilian prototype. Advise all patrols to monitor for similar signatures. No further action required. He believed that was the end of it. He was wrong. 3 days later, in a different part of the galaxy, a deep space listening post floated in the dark. It was an automated station, its only job to listen for the unique hum of warp drives. Its computers knew the sound of every Imperial engine, every trading vessel, every mining barge. In the middle of a quiet shift, it heard a new sound. It was a clean, sharp frequency, followed by a silence that was somehow wrong. The station's simple brain flagged it. It recorded the signature and sent a packet of data to Ethelgerd. The next day, another listening post, 60 light years away, heard the same sound. A ship appeared from nowhere, hung in space for a few minutes, and then vanished again, moving at speeds that made the station's tracking systems fail. It also sent a report. The third report came from a mining colony in the asteroid belt of a system called Cora. A foreman named Park Minji was overseeing a drill when she saw it. A sleek, silent ship, just like the description that was now quietly circulating among junior officers. It zipped past the giant asteroids, moving with impossible grace and speed, and then was gone. She filed an official sighting, but her superiors told her it was space fatigue. Back on Ethelgerd, the reports from the listening posts and the mining colony did not land on Bei Jiang's desk. They went to the central archives to be filed away by analysts. One of these analysts was Kong. Da-Eun was the one who had first noticed the strange signature from the steadfast justice. She had never forgotten it. When the first listening post report came in, her computer matched it to her earlier flagged file. A soft alert appeared on her screen. Her eyes widened. She pulled up the data. The signature was identical. The same impossible drive. The same silent profile. But the location was wrong. The distance between the first sighting and this one was vast. No Imperial ship could travel that far that fast without leaving a massive warp trail. This ship had left no trail at all. She felt a thrill, not of fear, but of curiosity. She was a woman who loved puzzles, and the Empire had very few left. She began to work, ignoring her other tasks. She pulled every related report. She mapped the points. The ship's path was not random. It was moving in a straight, curious line, jumping from one dead star system to another, from one silent ruin to a barren moon. It was not heading toward the core worlds. It was not attacking, it was. Visiting her superior, a tired man named Mr. O, noticed her intense focus. Da-Eun, you are behind on the mineral surveys from the Rygar cluster. "Sir," she said, her voice filled with excitement, "look at this. The unknown vessel. It's been seen 3 more times. The same ship. The distance it's covering. The physics don't work. Not with our understanding." Mr. O looked at her map. He saw the points. He was a cautious man. "You are suggesting this one ship is outrunning our fastest couriers? It is more likely 3 different smugglers with similar illegal tech. The signature is exact, sir, to the quantum resonance level. It's the same machine." She showed him the wave patterns. They were perfect matches. Mr. O felt a chill. He understood data. The data was saying something impossible. "This is a matter for the military, not the archives," he said, wanting the problem to go away. "But if we give them incomplete data, they will make the wrong choice," Dayun insisted. "This ship isn't acting like a threat. It's course. It's surveying. It's looking at old places. Dead places." Her words hung in the air. The idea was stranger than an invasion. Why would anyone with such technology care about dead rocks? Reluctantly, Mr. O agreed to compile a full data packet. He sent it not just to the military, but to the office of Grand Admiral Bei Zhong himself, marked Urgent Correlated Anomaly. This time, the report could not be ignored. 3 separate, verified sightings. The same impossible ship. Bei Zhong read it in his luxurious office. The comfortable feeling of control left him. His political mind began to race. If this was a new power, he looked incompetent for dismissing it. If it was a weapon, he looked negligent. Fear replaced annoyance. He needed to be seen taking action. He stood up and pressed a button on his desk. "Convene the Sector Command Council," he said to his assistant, "and send a priority alert to all border fleets. The unknown vessel is to be considered a potential security risk. Track it. Find it. And this time, I want answers, not censor ghosts." Across the Empire, on thousands of ships and stations, the alert flashed. Officers who had heard the rumors now saw the official order. A low, nervous buzz began to spread through the military. They were being asked to find a ghost that broke the laws of physics. On the bridge of the Steadfast Justice, Commander Yu Ji Huan received the alert. He read it and looked at the empty starfield on his screen. The Admiralty was now afraid of what he had seen. This did not make him feel better. It made him feel colder. He had followed the rules all his life, and the rules said everything was known. Now, the rules were wrong, and on the Wayfarer, Navigator Kim Tae-won picked up the sudden increase in Imperial communication traffic. They were using new codes, urgent codes. He smiled. "Captain," he said, "the Empire is waking up. They're talking about us. They're telling everyone to look for the ship that's not in their records." Captain Park Jae nodded slowly. "Good," he said again. "Let them look. Let them see how big their galaxy really is." He turned to engineer Lee Soo-jin. "Plot a course for the next point of interest, the one with the big orbital ruins. Let's give them something clear to see." The panic was no longer just one commander's fear. It was seeping into the walls of the Empire itself. And the cause of it all was just getting started. The Galactic Empire's patrol frigate, the Steadfast Justice, floated in the endless night of Sector 47 Zeta. This was the quiet edge of known space, a place where nothing happened. The ship's commander, Yu Ji Huan, sat in his chair on the command bridge. He was a serious man who believed in rules and order. He looked at the main viewing screen, which showed a sea of black dotted with faraway stars. It was the 3rd hour of a very boring watch. "Report," Ji-Wan said, not expecting any news. At the sensor station, a young officer named Kim Tae-seok checked his readings. "All quiet, Commander. Standard background energy. No contacts on the long-range scan. Ji Huan nodded. This was normal. The Empire had mapped this galaxy 10,000 years ago. Every star system was known. Every ship design was recorded in the great archives on the capital world, Ethelgerd. Peace was kept because nothing was unexpected. He took a slow drink of his tea. Far away on Ethelgerd, in a huge building that held the Empire's data, an analyst named Kang Dayun was working. Her job was to check the automatic reports from ships like the Steadfast Justice. The system usually flagged problems, but mostly it was just nothing. She scrolled through lines of information on her screen, her eyes tired. Then, a single line in the data from Sector 47 Zeta changed color. It went from green to a soft, pulsing yellow. Not a red alert, just a question mark. She leaned forward. The computer had logged a single energy signature. It was tiny, but it was wrong. It did not match any known drive profile. Not even close. It was like hearing a single note of music from an instrument no one had ever seen. She ran the comparison again. The result was the same. Nitrogen monoxide match found in Imperial records. She flagged it for a human review and sent a small note to the Steadfast Justice, suggesting a quick short-range scan of that sector. Then she moved on to the next report. Back on the bridge of the Steadfast Justice, a soft sound announced the message. Ji Huan read it. A data suggestion from Central Archives. Probably another sensor ghost, caused by a passing comet. Still, rules were rules. Ensign, he said to Tae-seok, run a focused short-range scan on the coordinates provided by Archives. Let's clear this up. Yes, Commander. Tae-seok's fingers moved over his controls. The ship's powerful sensors, usually sleeping, woke up and reached out into the dark. For a moment, there was nothing. Then, a shape formed on the edge of the scan. It was small, maybe a third the size of their frigate. Its design was strange. It had no sharp angles or heavy armor. It was smooth, like a stone polished by a river. It had no identification signal, no name, no Empire's symbol. Commander, Tae-seok said, his voice suddenly tight. I have a visual. A vessel. It's not broadcasting any transponder codes. It's not in the local registry. Ji Huan put his tea down. On screen, the image appeared. The ship was unlike anything Ji Huan had ever seen. It was beautiful in a strange, silent way. It glided without any visible engines firing. It just moved. Hail them, Ji Huan ordered. Standard first contact and identification protocols. The communication officer sent the message. The standard greeting, asking for identity and purpose, repeated in every known trade language. They waited. Silence. Double quotes again. Ji Huan said that they sent the message again. The only answer was the quiet hum of their own ship and the slow, steady movement of the stranger on their screen. Life signs? Ji Huan asked. Scanners can't get a clear reading, Tae-seok replied, confused. The hull seems to absorb our sensor beams. I can't tell if there's anyone inside. This was not right. In the Empire, everything was known. An unregistered ship was a smuggler, maybe. A lost civilian vessel. But this ship's design was completely new. And it was ignoring them. Track its course and speed, Ji Huan commanded. A feeling of unease growing in his stomach. Tae-seok worked for a moment. Then he went very still. He checked his numbers twice. His face lost a little color. Commander, its velocity. It's reading 0.5 past light speed. At rest, Ji Huan stood up. That's impossible. The fastest Imperial ships, the great battle cruisers, could only reach 0.4 past light speed with their biggest engines burning hard. This small, silent ship was doing more than that without even seeming to try. Before anyone could speak, The unknown ship did something. A soft blue glow appeared at its rear, not a fiery explosion like an Imperial drive, but a clean, contained light. The ship didn't just accelerate. It seemed to step forward, that the numbers on Tae-Seok's screen jumped wildly. 0.6, 0.7, it's at 0.8 past light speed. It's pulling away. On the main screen, the sleek ship became a blur. Then, with a final flash of that strange blue light, it was gone. It vanished from the sensor plot completely. It didn't warp away in a jump. It just left out. The bridge of the steadfast justice was completely silent. The star field on the screen was empty again. It was as if the ship had never been there. Report, Ji-hwan said, his voice quiet. Gone, sir. No debris. No warp trail. Just a residual energy signature. I've never seen anything like it. Tae-Seok's hands were shaking slightly. Ji-hwan sat back down. His boring watch was over. He now had to write a report about something that could not exist. An unknown ship, moving at impossible speeds. Ignoring all communication, he looked at the empty space on the screen. For the first time in his long career, Commander Yu Gi-hwan felt a cold trickle of fear. The Empire had records for everything, but it had no record for that dot deep in the now empty void where the strange ship had been. A different scene unfolded. Inside the smooth, silent vessel, the air was calm. The lights were soft. A man sat in a simple chair in the center of a clean, circular room. This was Captain Park Jae. He had watched the Imperial frigate on his own screen, seen their hails, seen their confusion. He had not answered. His orders were clear for this part of the mission. Observe, do not engage. A young woman at a navigation station spoke. She was Lee Soo-jin, the chief engineer. Drive systems performed normally, Captain. The jump to secondary speed was smooth. Their sensors are about 200 years behind our basic stealth systems. They got a nice picture, though. At the sensor console, Navigator Kim Tae-won smiled. He was younger than the others. The Imperial vessel has logged our exit. They seem very agitated. Their commander is probably writing a very confused report right now. Park Jae allowed himself a small smile. It was not a mean smile. It was the smile of a teacher watching a student struggle with a simple problem. Good, he said, his voice low and steady. Let them be confused. It is a healthy thing sometimes. He looked at the star chart that floated in the air before him. A line connected their previous position to their next destination, a cold, dead planet in a neighboring system. They think they know this galaxy. They have no idea what is buried in the dust. Proceed to the next waypoint, Soo-jin. Maintain silent running. Let's see what else we can learn before they decide to have a more serious conversation. The human ship, whose name was Wayfarer, moved on. It left behind a bubble of panic that was just starting to grow in the heart of the greatest empire the galaxy had ever known. All because of one simple fact they could not accept. Something had just happened that was not in their records. The fifth battle fleet of the Galactic Empire was a terrifying sight. It came out of warp space in a series of thunderous booms that shook the void. First, the great star dreadnoughts appeared, their massive hulls blocking the light of the distant sun. Then the cruisers, then the swarms of smaller destroyers. They formed a perfect half-circle, a wall of metal and weaponry. Their target hung in space before them, small and silent against the backdrop of a blue-green planet streaked with white clouds. On the bridge of the flagship Invincible Will, Grand Admiral Bae Jong felt a return of his confidence. Here was order. Here was power. The unknown ship, the Wayfarer, was trapped between the fleet and the planet's gravity well. There was nowhere for it to run. On his screen, he could see the tiny vessel. It made no move to escape. It simply orbited the planet as if admiring the view. "All vessels, lock primary weapons on the target," Bei Jiang commanded, his voice echoing across the fleet. 1,000 targeting computers hummed. Beams of invisible energy painted the hull of the Wayfarer. On every ship, officers waited for the order to fire. The tension was immense. "Hail them," Bei Jiang said. "One final time. Give them a chance to surrender before we erase them." The communication was sent. The entire fleet waited. For a long moment, there was only silence from the small ship. Then, every screen on every Imperial ship, from the Grand Flagship to the smallest engineering terminal, flickered. The tactical displays and weapon readouts vanished. In their place, a simple, clear image appeared. It was a man. He had calm eyes and wore a simple dark uniform with no medals. He sat in a chair that looked comfortable, not a command throne. Behind him, the bridge was clean, well-lit, and quiet. The man spoke. His voice was not loud, but it was heard perfectly on every ship, Galactic Empire vessels. "Hold your fire." On the invincible will, Bei Jiang jerked back in his seat. What is this? A broadcast override? How did they do that? Jam them? Technicians scrambled, but the signal was not coming from outside. It was inside their own systems. "It was everywhere. The man on the screen continued. "My name is Captain Park J. of the Earthship Wayfarer. You are in our home system." The word Earth meant nothing to the Imperial crews. But home system sent a confused murmur through the bridges. This dead rock? This was a home? Captain Park J's image shrunk, moving to one side of the screen. On the larger part of the screen, new images appeared. They were recordings, sharp and clear. They showed the Wayfarer in orbit around other dead worlds. They showed its scanners examining broken ruins on airless moons ruins the Empire knew well. They were the mysterious, silent remnants of the precursors, the ancient races that had come before the Empire, whose technology they could barely understand. "We have been on a long journey," Park J said, his voice calm, like a teacher. "Outside the galaxy for a very, very long time. We left this galaxy before your empire was a dream, before your oldest records were written. We have been asleep, traveling the dark between galaxies. The images changed. They showed the Wayfarer's course, a line stretching from beyond the galactic rim, through the dead systems, right to this spot. Each stop was marked. Each was a precursor site. We have been returning slowly, waking up. We have been visiting the old places, the places we knew, to see what remained, to see who came after us." He paused, looking directly out from the screen, as if he could see every Imperial officer. "It seems we found you." The silence on the Imperial fleet was total. The words did not make sense. They were too big. Outside the galaxy? Asleep before the Empire? On the invincible will, Bei Jiang's mouth was open. His mind refused to accept it. It was a trick, a lie to save themselves. "He's lying," he shouted, but his voice sounded weak. "It's a deception. All ships ready to..." "Admiral." A junior officer interrupted, which was forbidden. The officer was pointing at his own data screen. "The planet. The scans of the planet." Bei Jiang looked. The fleet's powerful sensors, no longer jammed, were focused on the blue-green world below. The computers were analyzing the atmosphere, the geology, and they were finding things. Patterns of ancient metal under the oceans. The rectangular outlines of vast, buried cities, overgrown by millions of years of forests. The signal of faint artificial radiation from the core, the last echo of a planet-wide power grid that had shut down an eternity ago. This was no dead rock. It was a tomb, a cradle, a homeworld. Analyst Kang Dai-Yun, watching a secured feed from the archives on Ethelgerd, put her hand over her mouth. Her map was right. Her theory was right. They weren't scouts. They were archaeologists. And they were home. Captain Park Jae's face returned, full screen. We are not your enemy. We did not come to fight. We came to see what grew in our absence. You have built an impressive civilization. He said the word impressive kindly, the way an elder might praise a child's drawing. You have used the pieces left behind by others, including some pieces we left behind long ago. You have done well with them. The kindness in his voice was worse than any insult. It shattered the imperial pride completely. We will not interfere with your empire, Park Jae said. But this system soul is ours. We will be here for a time, to remember. Then we will leave again. There is much more to see. The transmission ended. The screens on the Imperial ships returned to normal. The weapon locks were still active. The Wayfarer still hung in orbit, defenseless before the giant fleet. Grand Admiral Bei Jong stared at the planet, then at the small ship. His finger hovered over the button that would give the fire order. He could still do it. He could destroy the mystery and pretend it never happened. But he saw the buried city scans. He heard the calm, certain voice of a man who spoke of millions of years as if they were days. To fire now would not be an act of strength. It would be the tantrum of a child who breaks a puzzle they cannot solve. His hand fell. The weight of truth was too heavy. He could not give the order. On the bridge of the steadfast justice, Commander Yu Ji-hwan looked at the planet called Earth. He felt the panic of the last days drain away, replaced by a deep, humbling awe. The galaxy was not a solved puzzle. It was a story, and they had only read the last few pages. He felt small, but he also felt curious for the first time in years. And on the Wayfarer, Kim Tae-won let out a long breath. They are standing down. Weapons are powering down across the fleet. Lee Soo-jin nodded. Good. I didn't want to have to fold space around their flagship. It would have been messy. Captain Park Jae stood up and walked to the viewing port. He looked down at the swirling blues and greens of Earth, the silent cities under the seas, the old bones of his species' first home. They had come back to a galaxy that had forgotten them, that feared what it did not know. He hoped they had just given it a gift greater than any technology. A little wonder and a little humility. Begin the surface survey, he said softly. Let's see what home looks like now. The panic of the Galactic Empire was over. The long, slow process of understanding had just begun. The footage from the task force's sensors arrived on Ethelgard. It was not a report. It was a silent, terrifying movie. Grand Admiral Bei Jong watched it in his secure office with his top advisors. The room was dark, except for the light from the screen. They watched the sleek, unknown ship hang in space. They watched the Imperial Interceptor's fire warning shots. Then they watched the ship disappear and reappear somewhere else. It did not dodge. It simply was in a new place. The plasma bolts meant to disable it flew through empty space. The final burst of speed, the violent wake that tossed Imperial ships aside like toys, made one of the advisors gasp. The video ended. The room was silent for a long time. Explain that, Bei Jong said, his voice flat. He pointed a shaking finger at the screen. The head of military research, a man named Dr. Kwan, cleared his throat. The energy signatures. They suggest a localized manipulation of space-time. A warp effect, but contained to the ship's immediate vicinity. It is not propulsion as we understand it. It is more like teleportation in short jumps. The final acceleration exceeds our theoretical limits for material integrity. The hull should have torn itself apart. But it didn't, Bei Jong snapped. So their material science is also beyond ours. What are you telling me? that this one ship is better than 10,000 years of Imperial engineering? Dr. Kwan looked at the floor. Based on this footage, Admiral, yes. In these specific areas, by a significant margin. The word yes hung in the air. It was a word that did not belong in this room. The Empire was the best. That was the foundation of everything. Panic, cold and quiet, began to set in. It was no longer just about one strange ship. It was about what the ship represented. A power that could build such a thing was a power that could not be controlled, could not be understood. It's a scout, one of the older advisors said, his voice rough with fear. It must be. This is a pre-invasion probe. They are testing our defenses, mapping our responses. A main fleet will follow. This idea spread through the room like a virus. It made sense to their military minds. Why else would you have such technology? You would use it to conquer. Bei Zhong grasped this explanation. It was something he could fight. An invasion was a clear problem with a clear, if difficult, solution. We must assume hostile intent, he declared, standing up. If this is a scout, we must destroy it before it can report back. We must show them our strength. Mobilize the 5th Battle Fleet. The order sent a shockwave through the Imperial Navy. The 5th Battle Fleet was not a group of fast interceptors. It was a sledgehammer. It contained 3 massive star dreadnoughts, vessels each the size of a small city, along with 20 cruisers and dozens of support ships. It was a force meant to crush rebellions and end wars. It had never been used to hunt a single ship. Across the Empire, the giant ships powered up their ancient drives. Crews scrambled. The news that the 5th Fleet was moving spread through the military networks. A low, nervous chatter filled every mess hall and officers' club. They were going to war with a ghost dot in the archives. Kang Bi-yoon heard the news. The mobilization of the 5th Fleet was public information, meant to reassure the populace. It did not reassure her. It horrified her. She looked at her map, at the straight line the unknown ship was traveling. She had run every analysis. The ship was not heading toward any military target, any resource-rich world, or any population center. Its path was a historian's path, an archaeologist's path. She made a decision. She could be fired for it, maybe worse. She bypassed her superior, Mr. O. She used an old, low-priority data channel, one that would go to a junior officer on the 5th Fleet's command ship. She attached her analysis, the map, the list of dead systems the ship had visited, the evidence that it was surveying, not scouting. At the top, she wrote a single line. Consider that it is not looking for targets. It is looking for answers. Do not make it see us as a threat. She sent it and sat back, her heart pounding. It was a message in a bottle, thrown into a sea of fear. On the bridge of the Wayfarer, the mood was changing. Kim Tae-won monitored the Imperial communications. The simple codes were easy for the Wayfarer's computers to break. Captain, Tae-won said, his usual smile gone. Big movement. They've mobilized a major battle fleet. Multiple capital-class vessels. They are forming a net across several sectors. Their communications. They are calling us a hostile scout. They intend to destroy us. Lee Soo-jin looked up from her engineering station. Destroy us? For looking at old rocks? Their fear is making them stupid. Captain Park Jae considered this. The mission parameters were clear. Avoid contact, observe, gather data on the current galactic civilization. But contact was now being forced upon them. And a civilization that attacks what it does not understand is a dangerous one. They are trying to box us in, Tae-won added, pointing to the tactical map. Their net is large, but there is a gap. They are shepherding us. I think they believe we are heading for a region of dense nebulas to hide. But our course is taking us to the next point of interest here. He pointed to a lonely star system on the very edge of the map. Park J looked at the star. It was labeled in the Empire's database with a simple code. In the Wayfarer's own older database, it had a different name. A name from an ancient language. They are acting out of fear, Park J said finally. Fear is a poor guide. But we cannot let them start a war over a misunderstanding. He paused. We will continue our course. We will not run. We will not hide. If they want to meet us, they will meet us where we choose to go. Increase speed to standard survey velocity. Let them see where we are headed. Captain, Sujin said, a note of caution in her voice. If that fleet gets a clear shot with all its weapons, they will not fire if they are confused, Park J said. And we are about to confuse them very much. Set the course. The Wayfarer adjusted its path, not away from the Imperial net, but straight through a perceived gap in it, heading right for the lonely star system. On the command ship of the Fifth Fleet, the Admiral saw this. He saw the unknown ship moving toward a worthless, empty system. He did not see Kang Da-yin's message, which had been deleted by a junior officer who thought it was irrelevant. He saw only that the target was moving into a perfect kill zone, far from any civilian planets. It was ideal. All units, the Fleet Admiral said, converge on the Sol system. Prepare for full engagement. We will end this mystery with fire. The word Sol meant nothing to him. It was just an old code for a dead system. To the crew of the Wayfarer, it was the final waypoint on a very long journey home. The Empire, in its panic, was following them to the one place in the galaxy where all their questions would be answered and all their fears would be turned upside down. The panic had reached its peak, a rolling wave of dread and weapons fire, crashing toward a small blue-green planet that nobody in the Empire ever thought to visit.